Hello and welcome to this episode of Just Interesting, the podcast where we talk about things that aren't fascinating, certainly aren't boring, they're just interesting. And joining me, Robin, today are Alex and Martin. Welcome, both of you. Welcome. We'll be discussing aliens. Are they real? Well, specifically, these particular aliens that made the headlines last week. But before we get onto that fascinating topic, just interesting topic, we will be addressing your comments that you've put onto the podcast or sent us on Twitter or made a review, whatever, on the podcast platform of your choice in the past couple of weeks. And I'll be opening with a riddle. But before I read out the riddle, gentlemen, I would like to know how you both are. Let's start with Martin. How are you doing?
I'm great, actually. Yeah, this week has been a lot more chilled. I had a run, and if anyone listens to all of these episodes or has binged them, they probably know that I've been off for a few episodes in the last couple of months, I'd say. So stuff's been pretty hectic, but there's a period of relative calm at the moment, which I'm thankful for after a lot of hectic stuff. So yeah, all good, all good. Feel refreshed. Yeah.
Okay, well, you're not going to convince anyone that you weren't treasure hunting, Martin. And if you want to say that you came back empty-handed, that's fine. That's okay. Yeah, sure.
I got some golden nectar. If anyone can see at home,
it's a big bottle of rum for anyone at home. He's drinking.
Oh, I wish.
Like a pirate scallywag that he is.
Where's the rum gone? I don't really drink rum. I don't mind it. I do like a spiced rum. I feel it's kind of a bit of a dangerous drink to have at home. A spotless spiced rum. It sounds quite easy just to... that sounds fancy. A spiced rum. Before you know it, you've had 3 on a Tuesday.
That's why I never keep any in the house at all. Absolutely not.
It's clinking around. Empty bottles.
Yeah.
Well, how are you doing, Alex?
I'm good, thanks. I had something exciting happen this week that I'd like to share. I met up until now, I haven't been sure. Has anyone listening to this? Who knows? We just don't know. But I met an actual Just Interesting fan out in the wild. So,
whoa.
How weird
is that?
Go on,
tell us the story. Go on.
That's amazing.
What happened?
I was drinking in a pub. Definitely not rum, that's for sure. And someone came over and they said, "Hey, do I know your voice from somewhere?" And the people I was with were shocked and surprised. And
really, you hadn't told them that your voice is famous on these airwaves.
No, it's a secret identity that I have doing this, obviously. But yeah, no, Josh, thank you for recognizing me. You made me look like the coolest person at that table. I wish I'd played it off as if this happened all the time, though.
I'll give you your £10, Josh, next week.
Yeah. Keep it nice. Hush. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, that's exciting.
But that was exciting, yeah.
That's nice. So, lesson is, folks, if you ever are out and about and you think you might recognise one of our voices, feel free to approach us. Just say hi.
I had it once when we were, the channel, or a couple of times actually, on the channel that shall not be named. But I remember one of them I was out with our friend Simon. And someone came up to me, you're from the channel that shall not be named. And I went, I think I probably came across as rude because I was just a bit embarrassed. I was like, oh, yeah, cool. You don't want to be like that. You want to say thank you and thank you so much for listening. And that's great to meet you and all this kind of stuff. But I fear that I was potentially a little bit standoffish, which I don't mean to be, but it can happen. It can happen when you're like, whoa, wasn't expecting this out of the blue.
It's a surprise, isn't it?
Yeah,
absolutely. But yeah, no, I thought that was probably the most exciting thing that's happened all week. Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Cool. Yeah. Oh, well, that's great news.
Yeah.
Well,
but I am excited to be getting into some alien topics because it's been a while since we've discussed aliens.
It feels like a long time. And this could be an interesting one, I think.
But also, this story, we haven't brought it up ourselves, even like amongst us. So I'm excited to hear what your opinions are on it as well.
Yeah,
we're coming into this blind, everyone, just completely fresh, unprepared. we haven't vetted what we're going to say or do. So this could be the rift. This could be the thing, the spark that starts the fire that burns down. Just interesting. And the three of us go our separate ways.
To confirm, right, we're talking about illegal aliens from Mexico coming into the US. That's the topic, right?
That's absolutely the topic. Yeah.
Political.
That's not the memo
Yep.
I sent, but okay.
What?
Right then.
Damn.
Furiously starts rewriting the notes.
It's like, just text Lauren Boebert. Not needed today, love.
Put the guns away. Yep.
Okay. Well, before we get into that fascinating topic, which is not political, purely, I'm going to say scientific, let's do a riddle. And I've got a riddle for you from my little book of Anglo-Saxon
Oh, you found
riddles.
it.
For God's sake,
I think I lost the book. Go on then.
He's got a book of Anglo-Saxon riddles, everyone.
There we go.
Mad.
This is a good one. It's a good one. I am a wondrous thing, woman's delight, handy in the home. I harm no householder but him who hurts me. My stalk is tall, I stand in bed. My root is rather hairy. The haughty girl, churl's gorgeous daughter, sometimes has courage to clasp me, rushes my redness, rapes my head, stows me in her stronghold. Straightway the curly-locked lady who clamps me weeps at our wedding. Her eye is wet. What am I?
Her what? Was the
Her
last
eye
bit?
is wet.
Her eye is
Her
wet.
eye is wet.
What am I?
Oh, there was so many different bits to that. I'm trying to remember.
It's a
some of
long
them.
one. I'll skip the irrelevant
gonna-
bits. I'll read it again.
Okay.
I am a wondrous thing, woman's delight, handy in the home. I harm no householder but him who hurts me. My stalk is tall, I stand in a bed, my root is rather hairy. Sometimes the haughty girl has courage to clasp me, rushes my redness, stows me in her stronghold. She weeps at our wedding. Her eye is wet.
What does it mean?
It's a mop or a broom.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Some of those definitely don't match up with a.
Well, I mean,
I'm
the
not
problem,
appropriate.
the thing about the wonderful thing about these riddles is they don't make a lot of sense when they're translated from another language, which is also poetry. So there's
Yes,
a lot of
yeah.
confusing language here. But I'll read that again, and if you want to know the answer, stay to the end of the episode.
It does feel
Yeah, I
a little
think
bit
I
like
do
an
need it one more
auto-generated, doesn't it? It's like, oh, just
I
kind of put
suppose, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
little bit of words, sentences together.
It's kind of insulting to the
Something.
translator.
Exactly. No, that was the purpose, but that's fine. I'm okay with that. Okay, interesting.
So, gents, comments. Any comments you'd like to respond to from the past couple of weeks?
Before we jump into our favourite comments of the past week, Robin, I just wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone who supports us over on Patreon and as a YouTube member here on the Just Interesting YouTube channel. So in particular, I would like to give a massive thank you to Captain Wonky, James, Rashad Nijar, Caleb Wilkerson, Kurt Jones, John Baker, Henny Ruffle, The Super Show Podcast, Nicholas Dill, Emmett Tapier, Ahmad, Peaswad, Josh Chomatek, A Filthy Casual, and the one and only Simon Workman. Thank you all so much. You are the lifeblood and you keep us going. And obviously, if you did want to support us, then feel free. The Patreon is there. We have over 130 episodes of A Little More Interesting if you just can't get enough of the three of us, as well as you get access to our Discord server and something else. Oh, and you get recognition in the podcast as some of our most loyal and most beloved fans. So thank you all so much. So I've got a comment from Meridia's Beacon 371, and this was an answer to the question that we posed in last week's episode on the podcast, which was, if you could have any technology from any, I think we said film, but
Yeah,
any sort of
fiction,
media
yeah.
or something, any fictional media, what would you bring to life? So the example that we used was maybe hoverboards would be a good
Yeah,
one
and
from
something
Back
came
to
to
the
mind.
Future.
Yeah.
But Meridia's Beacon 371 says, I don't know if video games count for your technology question, but I would have to say in the Fallout universe, there's a device called the Symptomatic. As an American, it would save me an unfathomable amount of money. And I believe this is a device that can just like cure all ailments or just,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
stab yourself with it or something. And fixes you.
Interesting.
I haven't.
Yeah.
I don't think I've played that Fallout that has that, but
For fun.
I can imagine as an American, that would help a lot.
The healthcare system is famously affordable over there.
But I mean, that would be an amazing device to have. Yeah, for sure.
cool.
Humanity would definitely benefit from that. Yeah.
So you already did a whole section on this, so we're not answering
No,
this.
feel free if you've got a
Sorry,
good answer.
feel
Yeah,
free.
go
The
for it.
first thing that came to mind for a bit of fun would be the telephone box in Bill and Ted. Go back to any time in history,
Time
right?
travel. Yeah.
But Bill and Ted would have to be there too. That'd be.
You could have said the TARDIS from Doctor Who, but you said the
Nah, TARDIS
telephone
Bill and
box
Ted is better than
pathetic.
Doctor Who.
Pathetic.
Yeah. Doctor Who is.
Yeah, I want the Bill and Ted vibes. Sticking the antenna back on with chewing gum. That's what we want.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Danger. Yeah. The
So a time
beers.
machine.
Yeah, but it's not just a time machine, is it? It's like it's retro. It's
It's
by
got
mistake
style.
you end up kind of in that place with all the future people who can party on, dudes. It's all of it. You want the vibes, not just the machine.
Okay. I mean, it's just this machine that's
their
coming
adventure.
with you. You don't get the vibes as well.
I say I have their vibes, please, with the machine. I don't want to see Socrates. I want to see Socrates.
Yeah. Strange things are afoot.
That's a good one.
And the Circle
Circle
K.
K.
All right. Well, I've got a couple of comments from a few weeks back, actually, on our episode about weird religious sects, where we asked people what they do when they listen to us. Or rather, that sounds dodgy, but what are they doing whilst listening to us in that moment? And a few people replied, which is nice. Aaron Lee 9559 said, I listen morning, noon, or night, which is great. Thanks, Aaron.
Whoa, nice. Thank you.
Sounds like you listen to a lot.
That's a lot, just interesting. We do have 135 episodes now, so that's quite a lot to listen to. Nita Lou said, hello from Costa Rica. I normally listen for lunch or for sleep as well.
Oh, nice.
So don't confuse
That's
the two and fall asleep in your lunch. So that's nice. And then Paul Water 2713 says, hello from Haiti. I listen while doing all sorts of work.
Oh,
That's
awesome.
cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good variety.
People listen to us whilst they're working, sleeping. Yeah.
I like a good podcast while I'm working. It's good. It
Nice,
does pass
yeah,
the
yeah.
time. No.
It has to be the right kind of task, though. I can't be doing anything too taxing. It has to be something that I'm comfortable with just cracking on with. If it's something new or original,
totally.
I really struggle if there's something on in the background. That concentration. Anyway, I've got a message from Beck RR who says, and this was to do with the episode about reincarnation, so strange cases that might prove reincarnation, a couple of weeks back. And Beck says, yeah, but do these kid reincarnees ever remember if they paid tax or anything about adult life? That's a good question. Would you remember all those mundane, boring things that you have to know as an adult when you're reincarnated as a kid? Like, why don't you know all about the world?
Oh,
Why do you know about tax?
Martin. I think we spoke about that comment in last
really?
week's episode.
There you go.
Anyone who listened to our previous episodes would hear Alex and mine's response to that question. So Martin, what's your response to that?
What's your response, Martin? Yeah, we've already given ours, so let's hear it.
My response is bloody good question. Yeah, yeah. These 4-year-olds who claim to be the reincarnation of some New York gangster should know all about evading tax.
Yeah.
Although, as I think I said in the last episode, in response to this, when you're on your deathbed, is that thing. No one says that. No one wishes that they'd worked more when they're on their deathbed. So maybe, in fairness, maybe that's not the type of thing you would bring into your next life. You'd forget all the boring stuff. You'd only remember.
You choose
Although,
not to.
The cool stuff, yeah.
To bring up another comment, Lady Coy 9420 says they clearly remember some past lives, clearly, but they say, I do have a random memory of showering in the Old West, as well as one of standing in a grassy field surrounded by sheep in Scotland. But yeah, most past life memories are a bit more exciting or traumatic, like my memory of being shot for cheating whilst playing cards. Which,
What?
I think we need
That's
some
the
more
Wild West.
info on that. That sounds
we're
pretty
definitely
cool.
getting into my Bill and Ted's time machine here. You can see Billy the Kid get into a card game, almost get killed.
I wonder. Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
You actually have memories of some events from a distant era. That's incredible. Sounds like maybe you're a Scottish immigrant in a past life, went to the Old West, got shot, playing cards.
Could be. Could be.
Thank you. Playing cards.
Against Billy the Kid, who is in Bill and Ted's Excellent
Bill and
Adventure.
Ted, yeah.
Mr.
Yeah.
the Kid. Yeah. Wow, that's
Indeed.
fascinating.
Indeed.
Whoosh.
No, sorry for
Yeah,
picking,
please do
sorry for
tell us
picking the
more.
same one, guys.
That's all right. It's good. It just shows you how good a comment that was. That appealed to all
Yes.
three of us.
Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah,
yeah.
totally.
That's good. So, without further ado, fellas, would you be interested in chatting about Mexican aliens?
Let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
Aliens from Mexico, the extraterrestrial kind. We're talking about the news from a few weeks ago. I think it was September the 13th, at least in the UK, when a man, a long-standing ufologist, went to the
Well, there's the
Mexican
first red flag. Let's be
Congress, the Congress in Mexico, and presented two what he claimed to be authenticated extraterrestrial bodies found in a cave in Peru, and they were tiny little grey men. Although they weren't actually men, one of them he claimed was female, or what we might consider female, because X-ray had revealed that it was pregnant with eggs inside it. And they looked like little humanoids, definitely had distorted facial features, extended and I think they claimed retractable necks. And this man, whose name is, I'm going to say it in an English way rather than a Mexican way, I'm sure it's pronounced differently, but his name is Jamie Morsam. He claimed that Mexico's National Autonomous University had conducted DNA tests on samples from these bodies, which proved that they were not human. They did not have human DNA,
Crazy.
even though they looked humanoid. And he said that they had been carbon dated to about 1,800 years ago. And the internet went a bit crazy. And I want
And
to
that
know...
information's been shared with all of the scientific community, I imagine.
Well, Alex, it's interesting you should. So one of the first responses was indeed a senior official at NASA who offered help and said, if you share samples and your data with the rest of the scientific community, we can help you analyze further. Now, it should be noted that the Mexican Congress did not pass a resolution, make a vote, or any kind of official statement that confirmed these are indeed aliens. But the fact that he was able to present these bodies to Mexico's government and say, "I found aliens," is kind of significant in and of itself.
That is the craziest thing about this whole thing.
Yeah.
It's not the aliens. Like, I mean, if I'm sure most people who are listening have seen these alien-looking creatures, and they look a little bit like ET, don't they? From Steven Spielberg's classic. Is
Yeah,
it
I mean, in
classic?
fairness.
It's
Yeah,
a pretty
it's classic,
classic. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, they look a lot like ET, and you know, there's questions over if we found alien life, would it actually look like something that. I'm always skeptical when it looks like an alien
Exactly
from other
as you
media, right?
imagine.
Like, you're like, well, hold on a second. It's 3 out of 10 for originality, but having said that, the fact that you could present this to Mexican Congress, that they listened for hours to all that had to be said. They did a big unveiling, and the TV cameras and crews were there.
Yeah.
Like, why? I mean, maybe we'll get onto this a little bit later. But why did they allow that to happen is probably the biggest or bigger conspiracy than is this or isn't this aliens? Weirdly. But anyway, maybe that's a topic for another time. We could go on to that if you want to.
And why is this the appropriate venue for that as
Congress.
well? Why
Congress.
would it be
What?
Congress? Why
Imagine
would you
if-
take this to Congress?
Imagine if they came into the House of Commons and were like, boom, on the table, aliens.
Yeah, mad.
That's a perfect kind of comparison.
Crazy.
Isn't it? Why would that would be just that wouldn't happen? You would take it to like a medical lab for analysis. Yeah.
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 Well, one of the members of the audience there was a former US Navy pilot called Ryan Graves, who's spoken to Congress in the US about his experiences with UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, also known as UFOs. So he was there as an advocate for the fact that UAPs are way more common than people think, and actually should be considered standard for experiences for pilots, in the US at least. Basically, he claims that every single pilot has had a UFO sighting at some point. And I think he believes that some of them are extraterrestrial, which is presumably why he was here in the audience. But he's a fairly prominent, or he's becoming perhaps a prominent figure because he's coming very much from this is my experience as a military person. He's not really coming at it from this Jamie Mawson perspective of, look, I found some alien bodies.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
You
He
may
can
be
be trusted, supposedly, right?
supposedly.
The military in most, well, I think a lot of countries, but especially the US in particular, but North America, the North American militaries are the pride and joy of their nations, right?
Yes, you would hope that he wouldn't be making any of this up.
I know, of course not.
You may want to know that Jamie Mawson has presented alien cadavers before.
No, surely not.
He's just got a knack for finding them.
He does, doesn't he? I mean, to be fair to him, he's a researcher in this, so it's his life's pursuit to find these things. But he presented in 2017 a whole documentary about some bodies, alien bodies that were found and turned out to be mummies, ancient mummies of humans that had been doctored in some way to look more alien. So they had 3 fingers. So basically the 2 fingers have been removed. And the thing about South America in particular is, I think it was back in 2015, he was also involved in claims of a mummy that had been found with 3 fingers and a kind of elongated head in the kind of Indiana Jones crystal skull style.
Yeah.
Which is actually something that ancient cultures in South America did. They would deform themselves to presumably honor their gods in some way, by wrapping. As infants, they would wrap their heads to elongate the skulls. So he'd taken a real mummy of, I think, what turned out to be like a 2-year-old boy, and claimed it was an alien because it looked deformed and had 3 fingers. But it turns out the fingers perhaps had been cut off by some entrepreneuring individual.
Sounds pretty immoral, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, it does. Not saying that he did this Jamie Mawson, but he's presenting these mummies as if they're aliens. But he's been involved, I think, in what's particularly pertinent to this announcement, and we will put if you're watching us on YouTube, we'll have put the images up on screen. The 2017 mummies do seem to have been kind of hybrids, perhaps, I think. They were the ones that had some animal bones as well as human bones in them. So some people have criticized these alien bodies that he presented the other week as looking like papier-mâché ETs, like Martin said. So if they did X-rays, there might be bones inside, but are they actually skeletons, or are they just a mix-match kind of thing going on?
Yeah. Well, that's the criticism. Well, that was my initial reaction looking at these was, how does this work? Because it's like a skull. They've done like CAT scans and stuff of these aliens, and the skull has lips.
Right.
So like the lips, like you couldn't, if that alien existed, they couldn't move their mouth. There was no like jawbone or anything, detachable jaw. Like it was just, they just have to suck things up through a straw and not move their mouth. Their mouths were permanently just slightly open, just like.
Alex, I don't know what your problem is. They're aliens. Why should we assume that they operate in the same way?
Well, that's it. Yeah,
they
they're on a
have
different
faces, but they
plane.
might just be, they might just look like faces, but actually they're something else entirely, like hair follicles. I don't know.
But there were other examples of like there not being joints on the bones.
Yeah, and on the elbows and
like,
stuff. Like
the bones seemed like they were facing around the wrong way. And you're right. Yeah, maybe okay. We don't know how these aliens worked, but it just doesn't seem to make any sort of anatomical sense. How
an
like
issue.
they have no hip joints. They have no hip joints.
but they do have hips.
So they're
no
just
joints.
fully upright all the time.
Wow.
What if they drop something on the floor? They can't bend over and pick it up.
But maybe they've got telekinesis. and They
Telekinesis.
just lift it up with their minds.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay, well, fair enough then.
So
yeah.
imagine we had telepathy and telekinesis. We wouldn't need to use our lips, so we would evolve to have lips in our bones, but because we don't need to use them. But humans are attracted to people with lips and faces, so maybe in the far future of humanity, if we became telepathic, we would still have faces, but they would be bone structure, and then we
Yeah, no,
didn't need to move
it's a bit
our
of a
limbs
stretch here.
because we're telekinetic, and therefore we've got tiny skeletal bodies because we don't need muscles either. Maybe.
Perhaps.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? That's a flawless argument. I can't argue with that. So.
Well, there are a couple of other test results which I wanted to discuss. I mentioned the DNA test and the carbon-14. Well, UNAM, the university that did the DNA tests, said, after the presentation, said, we did receive samples from Jamie Mawson, but we don't know the provenance of these samples. So they said,
Okay.
we're not. They made it very clear. We're not saying that these samples that we got DNA for are from these bodies. And then they said the samples we got suggest DNA from multiple individuals rather than just one or two. And almost certainly from Earth. And they said, for example, the carbon-14. They said the mere fact that they could date the bodies using carbon-14 indicates that they're beings from Earth, because carbon-14 is radiation essentially that you get by being born and growing up on Earth, and it decays over time. So carbon-14 dating works by counting how much carbon-14 is in any organic material, because it is born with a certain amount of radioactive carbon-14 in it. So they said the fact that we can carbon date it means that it was born on Earth. It is a product of Earth.
So maybe it's not an alien, but maybe it's a little green ghoul. Maybe it's a little goblin or something. Maybe it's like a mythical creature that we have just uncovered.
Well, would you like to know what Jamie Mawson said in response to these claims from the university?
Were they explicit in saying this is from Earth?
No, actually, the wording they used was, so Giulietta Fierro from Mexico's National Autonomous University's Institute of Astronomy reviewed the test results that he presented and said, they do not show anything mysterious that could indicate life compounds that do not exist on Earth. Is what she said.
Fair enough.
Which I guess she's keeping it open. She's saying maybe it's real. He responded and said, actually, the data I shared with you isn't from these two bodies I presented in Congress. They're from a third body I found with them that I haven't revealed to the world yet. So,
what are you doing? This guy, red flags all over.
So he's saying, if the data looks dodgy, it's because it's not actually from these two genuine, authentic aliens that I've got here. Which then calls into question the whole, why is he presenting that data in the first place?
Do you think he's just trying to elongate his moment in the limelight again? Because
maybe.
Because there have been numerous cases, haven't there? With him bringing...
He's a serial offender, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Now, it could be that actually it's the boy who cried wolf situation. It seems unlikely, doesn't it? It seems unlikely.
If put yourself in the position of, okay, you genuinely are trying to find aliens, and that discovery would change humanity forever, and you're going into this with the best intentions, and you uncover two alien bodies. What's the first thing that you do? You take it to a scientist and get it analyzed. Whereas in this case, he's saying that, he did that with another one that no one's seen. But these two, I'm going to take in front of Congress.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. The first
unless
thing
you're trying to gain something from it,
is go to probably the most public place where you know there's going to be cameras, right?
Yeah.
Congress. You know there's going to be people there that are interested and that it's going to get airtime. But what strikes me is that they allowed him to go in there with these aliens and even proclaim. It makes a mockery of Congress if this is a hoax, right?
Yeah.
And you think that
it doesn't
someone
make it
might
look
do
good, does it? Yeah.
due diligence on him and be like, actually, hold on a second, this guy has a bit of history here.
I wonder if it's a similar thing that they do over here and they do in the US as well. Of maybe there's some domestic thing that's not going super well for the party and government, and they need a little distraction, a little. Look over there. There's some aliens in a box.
That is the question, isn't it? Is this a a distraction tactic from the Mexican government. And it seems ultimately, it seems like it has to be. Because
Just to allow this.
yeah, to allow this to happen. But it's so obvious. Like, it's so obvious. And also, you look at the political sphere as well. You look at the likes of Donald Trump in the US and this week at the Tory party conference, and they can say all kinds of rhetoric in plain sight, and people lap it up. There's always an audience for it. So I don't know. It just seems mad that they allowed this to happen in their most sacred of political institutions.
It's a stark contrast, I think, to the way that the UAP congressional hearings took place in the US just last month.
That's a good point.
August, yeah, I think it was, yeah.
And I feel like that was way more of a down to earth kind of approach to this.
Yeah.
And actually, did you see Ryan Graves? You mentioned he was at these hearings.
Yes.
The Navy pilot. Did you see his tweet that he tweeted about this?
I didn't actually.
When was that he tweeted about it? Oh, a few weeks ago now. But he said, after the US congressional UFO hearing, I accepted an invitation to testify before the Mexican Congress, hoping to keep up the momentum of government interest in pilot experiences with UAPs. Unfortunately, yesterday's demonstration was a huge step backwards for this issue. My testimony centered on sharing my experience and the UAP reports I hear from commercial and military aircrew through ASA's witness program. I will continue to raise awareness of UAP as an urgent matter of aerospace safety, national security, and science, but I am deeply disappointed by this unsubstantiated stunt. So,
wow, that's pretty condemning.
Yeah, strong.
He went there and testified, but clearly he was not impressed with what was being said. And honestly, yeah, I find the reports of like US military pilots and commercial pilots that have come out in recent years to be way more compelling than this type of thing.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's kind of like the way they're handling the UAP thing at the moment is reminding me of the way Arnold Schwarzenegger, famous Republican, has tried to handle the green agenda and encourage people to say, you may be, if you're a skeptic of climate change, look at it from an environmental perspective and just think, do you want to breathe an air that's full of lead particulates and carbon particulates and soot and oil exhausts? When we could have energy that has no exhaust whatsoever. We could have clean energy, hydrogen that only puts out water, or electric cars that put out nothing into the air. Look at it as a clean air issue.
It's clever.
Yeah, and this is kind of reminding Ryan Graves' approach there seems reminiscent of that, which is whether or not you believe in UFOs and aliens, we should investigate this because it could be significant. It could turn out to be something
absolutely.
that we should act upon anyway, regardless of whether you believe I'm not trying to compare belief in extraterrestrials and UFOs with belief in climate change. One of those is definitely scientifically happening, but I hope you get the point. So
yeah, no, I do. Yeah.
If he were correct, and it's a big if these bodies were real, what would it mean? Given that he's saying that they're 1,000 years old and they're little grey men.
So if we could conclusively prove that they are aliens, but there's no other evidence of them like existing here on the planet. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's not the same as if we were visited by aliens now, and it's like it's undisputable that they're here. There'll be so many people, the people that wouldn't want to believe this, like super religious fundamentalists or young Earth creationists. I think they would just believe that the same as like fossils, it's not real, or someone put them there, or it's fake. There would be enough skepticism there that I don't think it would change society too much.
Okay,
interesting. I think there'd be a lot of people that get the going to get their Bibles at the ready, but it doesn't have to be the Bibles at the ready. But they'd be saying, they visited us once. They can obviously make it to Earth. There's nothing stopping aliens from visiting us at any time. Be on your guard. We need international defense against aliens, blah, 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 blah. And there'd be panic stations, even though it was 1,000 years ago. It's like 1,000 years ago, but where are they coming from? And there'd be a lot more money going into research on nearby planets and potential alien technology of how they got to Earth. I think it would cause an absolute storm.
Well, yeah.
So I think it would actually, it would change a lot, and I'd certainly be more excited, much more excited about the potential for aliens to visit us again.
I would be taken aback, I think. I think if they were provably real, I would believe the science, and therefore I'd have to believe it. But the thing that gets me is what you just hinted at, Martin, which is if I were inclined to believe in UFOs and aliens had visited Earth, I would definitely be thinking they visited us in the last 100 to 200 years. Not they visited us 1,000 years ago, and maybe before, in which case, how much more advanced than us are they? And then I'd get caught in a spiral of despair and confusion of just like, well, if they're that advanced and they were here 1,000 years ago and we only just found them, maybe there's no point looking for them because they don't want to be seen and we'll just never know, right? If they're so advanced, they probably walk amongst us and we just won't know. So why bother? Just get on with life. Or do I get paranoid and like, oh, they're among us now?
I think there'd definitely be factions, wouldn't there? If people are like, panic and pandemonium, and then there'd be others that are like kind of a bit more like Eeyore, just resigned to it. Oh, well, if they're here, they're here.
I mean, I just think like, look at all the evidence in front of people's eyes about climate change, which you mentioned, Robert.
Yes,
and yet there's still a sizable portion of the population that doesn't believe it.
Yeah, that's
a portion of the population, like you said, Martin, who are now like defeatists and, oh, well, what's the point? Resign ourselves to it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the kind of and this is just like one tiny body that, unless an alien fleet armada invades Independence Day style, I think the majority of people are just going to get on with their lives. Honestly,
what else
if
can
this
you, I guess?
if this happened and they said, yeah, no, this is definitively an alien, that would probably be like the third most interesting story of the year. No, it wouldn't. Of course, it would be the most interesting. But I'm just saying, like, the world has gone crazy over the last few years. Like, that's just the natural progression. Most people's reactions, I think, would just be, yeah, sure, fine.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. Yeah, they're gonna have
the
to
rent's
rewrite
still
some
due.
of the,
yeah.
Just poking society. Go on, collapse. Do something interesting.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if they came right now, the timing is terrible for aliens to reveal themselves and have any kind of impact, because I think the whole planet is just so dismayed at what we've done to ourselves in every sphere. Every government, it seems, even the good ones, is just not doing well. And it's and
they could rock up. They could rock up with like massive battleships and be like, "People of Earth, kneel and submit to your masters," and we'd just be like, "Buddy, chill out. We've got lots of stuff going on.
Yeah,
just
right now.
Busy
get
right
in
now.
line."
Busy right now.
You want to take charge? Yeah, go for it. Yeah, all yours.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So ultimately, we think that it's overwhelmingly likely, right? 99.999% chance that it's a hoax, right?
Yeah, this is.
We're all
probably
on board with that.
Yeah. There's a twist in the tale, potential twist.
Okay.
So obviously, this fella's in Mexico presenting these to the Mexican government, and as I mentioned, he claims they come from a cave in Peru. Now, there's laws in Peru, as there are in many other nations, that anything that dates from any artifacts or archaeological objects, including remains, that date from before the Hispanic conquest, has to be preserved and kept in its place of origin.
Right.
And so in response to this presentation, the Peruvian culture minister said a criminal complaint has been filed to investigate how he obtained these remains from Peru. He claims he got them from a guy who's not ready to, or who will reveal the details all in good time. I think was the at the appropriate time or something like that.
When I fled
It's
the
not
country.
a response. It's not a response to like a government criminal investigation. All in good time. All in good time. All will be revealed.
So the thing that amuses me is that if setting aside the fact that they're obviously fake, but if they were genuine, wouldn't that be like, I've made the greatest discovery in the history of humanity? Aliens. It's like, where did you get those? I'm not sure. You should have brought those across the border, mate. You're under arrest. It's like,
Do you have a permit?
but the aliens. It's like, no, you're going to jail.
You didn't say that you had something to declare when you crossed the border, so yeah,
Yeah.
hand it back.
It's like somebody turns up in the UK post-Brexit and it's just like, I've got this secret weapon built by the Germans they're going to attack us with on the news. And the police go on just like, according to the new Brexit regulations, you should not have brought that through customs without the proper papers and authorities. You're under arrest. Just like, but the secret weapon, that's the point here.
But it's not from Peru, it's from outer space. I mean, it actually technically
That's actually an
was there
interesting
for
debate,
1,000
isn't it?
years. So
Yeah. Oh, I hadn't thought about that, but that would definitely happen. If somebody said, I found a UFO, a real UFO, and it's provably a UFO, and immediately it's like, where was it? It's just like, in Appalachia. Then the US government is like, property of the US government. And everyone else is just like, well, no, wait a second. These are aliens. How is it your property? You know, finders keepers kind of thing.
And then the ultimate plot twist, the aliens come back and they're like, "Ooh, actually, you shouldn't have taken these from our planet. They actually, they don't belong to you, so we need them back."
Yeah,
And
our law says
they
that-
serve a court summons.
Yeah, that'd be ironic. That's a great idea for a sci-fi story. Aliens turn up and serve a summons, and just like, according to intergalactic law, you've violated this treaty regarding mislaid items from other cultures and civilizations. And we're like, we weren't aware of this law. It's like, sorry, but that's a Hitchhiker's Guide, isn't it? With the
Essentially,
the destruction of Earth, isn't it?
yeah.
Oh well.
Local planning have been in plans in Alpha Centauri for decades.
So it seems like we're unanimous. We all seem of one mind, a hive mind, if you will, about these alien bodies. But what do you think? Please do tell us in the comments below on YouTube or tweet at us. I'm at AllTimeRobin.
I'm at Martin Interesting.
And I'm at Just Alexing.
Or you can contact us at JInterestingYT. Please do tell us all your thoughts, especially if you're a believer. I'd love to know what convinces you, because we've just done a cursory review of the evidence, and we'd love to know if there's any details that persuade you that these are genuine. Please do share it with us. And fellas, before we conclude and say goodbye, farewell until next time, would you like the riddle answer?
Oh, yes.
Yes, please. Could I hear
can
it
hear it
one
again,
more
yeah,
time?
let's
One
hear
more
it, let's hear
time.
it.
Yeah, one more time.
Okay.
I'm going to celebrate. Shouldn't have closed the book. Here we go. Okay. I am a wondrous thing, woman's delight, handy in the home. I harm no householder but him who hurts me. My stalk is
That's
tall,
weird.
I stand in bed, my root is rather hairy. The haughty girl sometimes has courage to clasp me, rushes my redness, stows me in her stronghold. Straight away, the lady who clamps me weeps at our wedding. Her eye is wet.
I have no idea with this one. This is
I stand in bed is an interesting one. It makes me think of like a potential like a riverbed, like, rather than an actual bed
Ooh, I think
or a different type of bed.
yeah, on the right tracks here, thinking metaphorically. I mean, if I drew your attention to the beginning and the end,
flower bed.
Okay. That's good.
flower bed's a good one. I harm no householder but him who hurts me.
I know that's weird.
And when the lady clamps me, her eye is wet. She weeps.
Clamps me. Her eyes. When a lady clamps me.
Like an onion.
It's an onion.
Yes.
That is the answer.
Birds on
It's an
eyes.
onion.
Yeah.
Yes,
The answer is an
okay.
onion.
Wait, what? So what's I
Nice.
stand in bed? Oh, flower bed.
Standard flower bed, yeah.
Vegetable bed.
And onions actually grow quite tall stalks.
What were the other ones? Can you read it back again? Just one more time.
One more time.
With the
with the knowledge.
Yeah, I'll read the full thing this time because it does get a bit weird. It's definitely
really?
it's trying to be dirty. This one. I am a wondrous thing, woman's delight, handy in the home. I harm no householder but him who hurts me. My stalk is tall, I stand in bed. My root is rather hairy. The haughty girl, churl's gorgeous daughter, sometimes has courage to clasp me, rushes my redness, rapes my head, stows me in her stronghold. Straightway the curly-locked lady who clamps me weeps at our wedding. Wet is her eye.
Yeah, makes
So much of it
perfect sense.
Yeah.
I think there's
Still a few of
definitely
those you're like,
a translation issue. Like they've chosen certain words that would have slightly. So the literal translation, like "weeps at our wedding," is that sentence in Anglo-Saxon or Old English is "Feather sona minus giomotus seo the mech neawath wif wundenlock." So they've
that
kind of
makes more sense. Yeah.
oh, yes,
So the-
damn yes.
the literal meaning of those words has been translated into something vaguely poetic with "weeps at our wedding," but actually that's not a direct translation in terms of the meaning of the words in Old English. If that makes any
I
sense.
see. Yeah. Yep.
So thank you
you
for
away for
enduring
it, yes.
another one of those. I appreciate it, and well done for getting it. Well done indeed. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next time.
See you soon.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.